What's the deal, ladies and gentlemen? We're back with I don't know if it's an improv beast fire, but I'm back with the techiest guys in what's inside the Xbox gaming community. My man Dealer, pretty fly for a white guy. My man D, the goat herder. We're here today, man. On Easter Sunday. So you know what I mean? Uh I'm not going to even get into that one. But anyway, guys, so a big article came out yesterday from Digital Foundry. And I'm surprised they didn't put it in a video form, but they probably going to do that later. And they went really into depth in talking about the GPU and the CPU, and why Microsoft or whatever, it's not really considered like you were saying, Diller, Jaguar core CPU. You know what I mean? And also, too, we can touch on how the fact they, the games that are 900p, we can list, and then maybe 80% of the titles. I won't go that far, but a lot of the games this generation have been 900p for the Xbox One, and how they're looking to achieve to bring those up to 4K, with room left over, not just for 4K native 60, but for better graphics, higher graphic fidelity, which I think is awesome. So, and also, like I said, the GPU has some terms of Vega in it, so we can talk about all that right there.
You're absolutely right when they were referring to 900 and 1080p games going up to 4K. 1080p games, seemingly zero effort to do this on that. They're doing that in 1 to 2 days, unoptimized with 60 to 80% GPU usage. That's crazy. So expect similar results with other games, maybe more likely run at 4K 30 for bigger games like Red Dead 2 and stuff like that. It'll probably be 4K 30 with good settings and stuff like that. They did confirm, and I'm sure you guys have already covered this, but they did confirm that when they do apply PC Ultra textures, it only takes a 1% hit to the GPU. So pretty much expect texture upgrades across the board with any 4K game that supports high-resolution textures on the PC. You should be able to get that on the console as well. And yesterday's article was pretty big. Me and Dee did a stint on this, a lot of good information in this article. And we do need to get into Jaguar cores, because I made a video about the CPU when people were asking.
And people slammed you about the whole Jaguar core thing.
Yeah, and turns out I was right. So yeah, I did make a video about that, saying maybe it is derivative of Jaguar, but it's far more custom than any Puma. And I'd rather call it some kind of custom Puma than a Jaguar, because people just use the word Jag to slam the console, right? Mm-hmm. So Microsoft have officially come out and said, and you will link this down below, correct? And if he does forget, because he's a forgetful motherfucker, remind him in the comments. He'll link this. But Microsoft had confirmed.
Jesus, remember, please, Jesus, work on me. Amen. Sorry.
It is using Jag cores, as I said before, but it's derivative more than anything because it's so custom. It comes out yesterday that Microsoft confirmed that it is so custom that they don't refer to it as Jaguar architecture anymore. And that is a direct quote from the article.
Andrew Gussom. Andrew Gussom. I don't even know who that is. Andrew Gussom.
Yeah, he's a fucking engineer that knows his shit, and he's proven himself in the past. He's very smart. Dee, do you want to cover some of this stuff real quick? For the stuff from yesterday, a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I think what I missed when I was doing initially was the fact that it's going to be doing the HDR YouTube capture with me.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing, and you're able to upload to YouTube. Oh man, I'm really excited about that, man.
Yep, 4K 60 straight up to YouTube. They're going to support game capturing in HDR and SDR. And like I said, I will say this, and people give Microsoft a lot of shit for whatever, but my introduction to Microsoft really was the Xbox, the original Xbox. And I remember when I bought that console, and I was a big PlayStation 2 guy. Even though they didn't have the same library of games at the time as the PlayStation 2, but I was just blown away by damn hard drive, and I don't have to buy extra piece for the internet port. The Xbox Live came out, and I remember Microsoft got slammed. I was reading this because they would say, "Oh, Microsoft, big mistake. They should have let dial up for Xbox Live." And even Bill Gates and stuff, like, maybe you should find a way how to make this work with dial up. And they was like, no, even engineers like, no, if you really want to, be the primary online gaming service, in time to come, we have to go broadband only. This is back in the day of 2002 when people still had, you got mail, the AOL dishes coming in the mail for you, AOL 9.0 and shit like that. It's coming in the box for you. So, and they put their foot down. And like I said, I was a beta tester. Day one, had my little $100 hookup or whatever. I've been there for, like I said, from then, they have always, to me, pushed the industry forward. You know what I mean? And for people who don't understand and don't see this, right now, it's what is Microsoft is doing it now, right? I just give you an example, right? And I'm not going to put this as an Xbox, PlayStation thing, right? You look at the Xbox 360, we had parties, Xbox Live Arcade, the stores, you know what I mean, and all this different stuff. Sony didn't have all that. Now they do have it, and you guys are praising it like it's the best thing to slice bread, which is cool. I think everyone is. I'm pissed off on Nintendo not getting on board. You know what I mean? This what they have done with the Scorpio is truly amazing. It's not even no fanboy stuff here. The fact that they didn't go back with the older games, the same games that got slammed for being 900p. Yeah, like I said, one thing about look, that's why I'm not ahead of which is a Fortune 500 company, because I'd have been came out to spilled the bean. What? I shoot straight from the hip. And knowing what they knew back then, like, wait, we got something for y'all last year. Talk about this resolution. Not only are the games going to, run better for us frames per second, and they're going to look better graphically. Those same games, I can't play it on the Xbox. Those graphics are so muddy and this, that, and the other. This is fucking ingenious, man.
Yeah, and everything. It's worth noting that everything you're talking about right now is without a patch, super sampling, as well as 16x texture filtering, all automatically enabled through at the operating system level without any patch to the game, right? The whole console is boost mode, to quote Albert Pinello.
Yes.
And I like the fact that they're giving us lots of options here. Like I was reading the article, of course, and they said 1080p, 60 frames per second. If the developer wants to do that, he can run his game from 900, change it from 900p, 30 frames per second, and put it to 1080p, 60 frames per second. So that's awesome. So guys that have
please do that. Please do it.
They're going to have the option to run 60 frames per second. You know what? Even if you have a 4K display, if the game is not running at 60 frames per second, sometimes it's just better just to play it at 60 frames per second. So 1080p, fucking ultra settings, 60 frames per second is a fucking awesome option too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we do have to reiterate that what we're talking about is going to be linked in the description, right from Microsoft. The architect is so custom on the CPU side. They don't refer to it as Jaguar architecture anymore. Get mad at Richard Ledbetter for the naysayers, right? The guy from Digital Foundry that did the reveal. All this shit's coming from him. So it is Jag cores, but you cannot buy this chip. You cannot buy the CPU or GPU. Microsoft confirmed that.
Yes.
Fully custom take on these things, and the results are awesome. They did confirm that they improved the GPU command processor by moving it from the CPU to the GPU and baking DX12 in. It's not like the Xbox Ones. People tell me it's like the Xbox Ones. No, this is different because it's being moved from one to the other. And they said they improved the command processor. Now, as I said yesterday, what did they improve the command processor over the Xbox One, the one we have now? So obviously they've been restricted all the way from launch to DS with the Scorpio. They're moving it into the GPU, and they're beefing that chip up to get up to 50% boost in DX12 games when it comes to draw calls, which is exactly what you need for things like 60 frames and other things like that. This is good, altogether good.
I'm gonna share the article on the screen. It says here that these new x86 cores in the Scorpio are 31% faster than Xbox One S, with intensive customization to reduce latency in order to keep the processor occupied more fully, while CPU and GPU coherency also gets a performance uplift. Like, this shit does so much. That's just talking about the sound.
It's a good thing you mentioned that too, because he also confirmed, or a Microsoft engineer also confirmed that yes, it is 9% faster in clock speed over the Pro, and that's just a clock, how fast the CPU runs. But it's more than 9% more efficient than the PS4 Pro CPU. That's just a clock speed that's 9% more efficient. The operations per clock cycle, how many things it does per clock, has been increased over the Pro through its gains in efficiency. So 9% boost to clock over the Pro, but more than 9% more boost over the Pro when it comes to efficiency.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that was kind of like a little dig at Sony or whatever. You said,
well, people are just saying it's 9% better. And it's 9% faster clock. It's more than 9% better. You know what I'm saying?
They made a lot of changes into it. It doesn't work like a regular Jaguar core does. And they designed it around DX12. They designed it around these game engines. So they identified what areas they needed to change, and they just changed it.
And once again, these claims here that we're all talking, this CPU boost, the guy saying it's more than 9% more efficient than Pros, the clock speed is the 9% part. That's all in this article too. He does say that it's more efficient per clock, basically, is what he's getting at. So feel free to read that yourself.
Yeah. I was saying it's not. Because like I said, sometimes, and I'm not the biggest tech guy. You can't really determine how powerful a console is by the speed. You know what I mean? Even though, like I said, in the day, the way that this console was built, I have to take my hat off to those guys at Redmond. Like I said, you don't think we know how to build a console? They did the goddamn thing with this guy. And like I said, this is going to be really huge within the YouTube community. The fact that without no capture card, no little fancy shit, you can record 4K 60 with HDR. Upload that shit straight to YouTube. You know what I mean? And again, you can be a pro Sony channel. Let me say so you can take it over from D. You can be a pro Sony channel, but those that do gameplay, you want to show the best content on your channel. And I mean, at the best way that they can look. And this is dope. What you want to say, D?
A big takeaway that I got from this article too is the price. When they're saying that the reason why they stuck with the Jaguar cores and they did the heavy customizations that they did was to keep the price down, yet still delivering us the performance that we need. And I'm hearing that this is really going to come out. I'm hearing it's going to be really aggressively priced, and I think it's going to be really close to what the PS4 Pro is priced at. And believe you me, if that happens, this console, it's going to be a phenomenon. I guarantee it.
Yeah. If it's the extra RAM in this thing alone ensures that the games will not look the same with resolution differences. That's been confirmed over and over with the 4K texture thing by several developers. So the games will look inherently different. They've got the RAM to do what they need to do. 8 gigabytes for games confirmed, 4 for the OS. That is more than enough for 4K games with ultra textures and other settings enabled. I'm looking forward to this shit, man. It's definitely like. We got to remember they've always had the best performing console, with exception to the X1 right now, right? They fumbled a little bit with the hardware. They had to connect. They got caught off guard. That's why the console released before it was ready. And I think they're going back to how they've always been, the best performing platform, except for this time, they've got a far bigger lead than they've ever had, ever, at any point in any generation they've ever done.
Well, I had a question for you guys. I guess another tech junkie here. He says, can you ask Dealergaming and D-Batch, because Scorpio doesn't have an ID buffer like the PS4 Pro, how Scorpio provides checkerboard rating for developers?
I haven't looked into that.
Well,
basically, I'm just going to say Phil Spencer's already confirmed that they can do all that. He also said if you have a checkerboard game on the Pro, then the reason they've done this, primarily the checkerboard options and stuff, is so they could bring over a game that's already checkerboarded, because they've already said it takes 3 weeks to checkerboard a game. That's why developers don't really necessarily like it at this point, because it's more work. They said if you've got something that's already checkerboarded and you want to bring it over, we have the chips and the technology in the box to actually run that game without you having to rebuild it or de-encode that checkerboard shit. So that's why they've done it primarily at launch.
And I don't think developers are really going to be using the checkerboard method. They're going to want to have a native resolution. And from what I was reading, it seems like the only games that really are going to be checkerboarded are 720p games.
Yeah, that is a good question nonetheless. That's something I haven't taken the time to research as of right now. But just hearing their statements about it, I mean, you can find this stuff. That's why I didn't look into it, because I'm like, okay, well, it's obviously possible. They're sitting there saying they've done it and they've implemented the tech. So good question, bro.
Yeah. I did say something about the games that were 720p. I don't know if that will still be I say Xbox One exclusives, because the big question out there is, of course, like I said, is Quantum Break, which is 4K, if I'm not mistaken, on PC. Now,
well, you can run it up to 4K, but it still needs a monster of a card to do that.
Well, Quantum Break is crippling, man.
Well, yeah, it's not the best optimized. And what they did confirm in the article that we're going over right now is that games that ran at 720p on the X1, those are the games they say you could checkerboard to get up to 4K in Scorpio, right? Which who knows if they will, because of, obviously I just said that takes time. And that's kind of why I was confused with Battlefront 2. Maybe Windows Central, their source, didn't know it was checkerboard at 4K, or maybe their source just didn't, maybe he was told it was 4K by somebody, but that game very well may be checkerboarded 4K. And I was kind of guessing that if it weren't checkerboarded, it might run around 1440p at ultra settings, 60. But hey, it could very well be checkerboarded.
Well, yeah, that is a good question. Like I said before, we're talking about the Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, with Battlefront, Star Wars, was that full DX12?
Yeah, Battlefront was, and I'm sure the technology's improved, but I don't think you're going to find another 25 to 30 frames through DX12. at all.
From listening, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. With the DX12 chip being, say on the motherboard there physically, whatever goddamn case may be, it cuts down the CPU usage by half. You know what I mean? Frees up resources. You know what I mean? Force brute wise, you know what I mean? As far as the GPU side of things, you don't think that 60 flop would be enough to run?
Here's the deal. On the PC side, I know people. Star Wars Battlefront 1, I know people that are running 4K, like 50 something frames a second with older architecture, like a 390X card, like D has, I think.
Yeah.
They're running 4K 50 something frames with that card.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, at high settings. But the reason I'm conflicted on this is because on Xbox One, that game ran at 720p with around high medium setting hybrid. I've compared it to the PC version. The main thing I noticed was more sparks and stuff when I shot a rock and little things like that. So I'm just doing the 4.6x boost in power and the 4 times boost in resolution. It doesn't quite hit 4K. But then I look at the PC side and I'm like, well, in this example, a card around 6 teraflops is doing almost 4K 60 at high settings on the first one. So it is very well possible that it could be doing native 4K. But at the same time, if you look at the multiplier on the console side, it can't quite get there. So I think with this newer dev kit, they very well may be able to hit 4K 60 native, but don't be surprised if it's checkerboarded.
Well, here's what I'm saying about that.
I think this is where the DX12 hardware chip comes into play with the draw calls to the command processor. I think this is where that shit helps to get it up to a native 4K because they're able to do more draw calls and they're able to offload some of that work on the CPU. So I think it's more than possible.
No matter what, as long as if it's checkerboarded, don't say it's native. That's all I care about. Don't call it 4K because it's not 4K. It's 1800p checkerboarded.
Did they get that engine up to 900p though?
I don't know. I have no clue. It was 900p on PS4.
What was last year's Star Wars at? What was it at?
900p on PS4, 720 on X1.
What's the next one?
Here's the thing though. The Xbox. The reason why I don't really see it being an issue. The Xbox One was 1.3 teraflops on the GPU side.
Around there.
You have 6 T-flops. And last time I checked, the what is it? The Dice Bat, what was it called? The Frostbite engine is GPU heavy. Very, very GPU heavy engine. You know what I mean? So you have some engines like what's that shit Ubisoft use, the Unity engine? No, not Unity, the Snow, whatever. Snow, that's kind of CPU heavy. Yeah. You have some AP, GPU, graphics engines that are very GPU heavy, and the Frostbite engine is very, very GPU.
Don't get me wrong, bro. It very well could be. I mean, the first Battlefield 4 ran at 720p. Then we see it scale all the way up to as high as 1000p in Battlefield 4. My bad, ran at 720. It scaled as high as 1000p in some areas in Battlefield 1, but it wasn't the norm. I'm just saying optimization is going to be key here. If they do it, it's going to take a little bit of work, but either way, it's going to be either checkerboarded or native is my guess. And at the very least would be 1440, which is much higher than anything any Xbox One player has ever seen in their lives. So it's going to look gorgeous and it'll do that at high settings as well. It's not really anything to worry about. I'm just saying it's possible. But at the same time, as efficient as these dev kits are, doing it in 1 or 2 days means all that power is almost automatically available to you. They're doing this, they're having it up and running in 1 or 2 days at 4K, 4x resolution at 1080p, meaning most of that power is instantly there, meaning they don't have to optimize nearly as much. And this thing is outperforming any AMD card I've ever seen or heard of, overclocked or otherwise, at around 6 teraflops. Just with the numbers on Apex alone, I've not seen an AMD GPU on the PC side that can do what the Scorpio was doing in that kind of benchmark. So you can't compare this to an RX 480. It's definitely faster than that card. And like I said, this is something custom, as they've said, 60 plus bottlenecks eliminated in the silicon alone. In conjunction with what they've done to the CPU, they're designed to do these things in tandem. Who knows, man? Who knows what's possible? Because Apex surprised me.
I think with Star Wars, I think the trade-off will be most likely that it won't reach ultra settings, that they'll probably keep it at 4K, 60 frames per second, high settings. I'm quite confident that Scorpio has the power to do that, at least in that game, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
and that would still look better than the PS4 Pro, because the PS4 Pro, although it could probably run high settings, maybe medium to high settings, it's definitely not going to be able to run that game in a native 4K. So it will be checkerboarding up from some type of method. So for a game like that, they might not need to take it to the ultra settings.
I think they will checkerboard if they can on Battlefront 2 on PS4 because they do have marketing rights. They're going to try to make it look as good as possible. So it's just one of those things we'll have to see. They're going to definitely try to get the most out of the Pro they can.
Most out of the Pro.
Next gen, I saw in the comments some guy was asking about FP16, which Scorpio doesn't have, but the PS4 Pro has.
What do you say? What happened in the comment section?
Some guy was asking if you can ask about FP16, which Scorpio doesn't have, but PS4 Pro has.
Oh, what the hell is that? Explain it to the comments.
That's the half float calculations, FP16. Now, most games...
That's old, isn't it?
Yeah, but most games are made with FP32, right? Yeah. But the PS4 Pro, it can do the half floats, FP16 calculations. And it sometimes it can do two calculations faster than it can do one FP32 calculation. So some people are saying, oh, Scorpio doesn't have that, so that's a disadvantage. Now the FP16 calculations, first of all, the image quality, it's not going to be as good. The shaders are not going to render a precise image. So you're going to get some banding, you're going to get some dithering. It's not going to look as good. And you can't use those calculations on everything in the game. You can't.
No.
And the engine has to be designed around it. So the game has to really be designed around it, and the developer has to target on that. And to be honest with you, there's not really any games that really use it. I think mobile games, some of them use it, but there's no real console engines that really use that method apart from the PS4 Pro, and they're not really even using it. I think only
that's old though. That's like old half.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason they didn't. There's a reason they haven't been making games with this shit. And,
but it's a compromise that they need in order to get the checkerboard rendering up. It's a compromise that they use.
Now, it'll only work on the aliasing and the shader models and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's little shit like that. It's not like they doubled the power of the GPU with this. That's not what happens here.
But Scorpio doesn't need it because it doesn't have any bottlenecks in the sense. In the same way that the PS4 Pro has it. So the fact that it doesn't have FP16 calculations, it doesn't matter because it's going to be doing native 4K. So, and even if it did have it and they were to use it, you're not going to get the same image quality as FP32 calculations. So it's a non-issue.
No. I mean, that 16-bit operations, as I've already covered this shit to death. Games of a year or so ago were doing 32 bits. Now games are being done with 64-bit operations. Even the new Skyrim remaster was remastered in 64-bit operations. And there are a few limitations that are lifted by going from 32 to 64, primarily RAM limitations. With 32-bit, they were limited to around 4 gigabytes of game RAM usage, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And with 64-bit, they basically have unlimited RAM. It's some ridiculously high petabyte number or some shit. They'll never run out of RAM with 64-bit. So they're not going to do shit in 16-bit operations. I can't believe people are still clinging on to this.
Yeah, but
if this were something that were actually
32 to 64.
Yeah, if this were really something that were a game changer, then the whole industry would have designed their games to bend around this because it gives you double the compute with a lot of what these people are saying. Even in Mark Cerny said theoretically in his quote. So this isn't something they've done successfully. It's not something that modern games are going to use. And there's a reason they haven't done it before. If they do use it with this type of stuff on AAA games, it's going to help with shaders, aliasing, small things like that. It's great for that stuff.
But people are using that argument to how Cerny got to the 8.4 teraflops that the PS4 Pro can do. And all I got to say about this is that if PS4 Pro could really do 8.4 teraflops of performance, you would have all of the games being native 4K on PS4 Pro. And we know that it's not happening. The majority of games are checkerboard, and the odd game is native 4K.
Yeah. And we covered in the Shader Model 6 video as well that the double half-point precision bullshit was supposed to be coming to Xbox One anyway. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's other this is an old instruction set found in DX11.
They did confirm that it's not going to be on. Right? So that's what these guys are going on about because
they don't need it. Because if they wanted it, if they thought it was a game changer, if it really did what you guys think it's going to do, they would have incorporated this, and they skipped past it for other features that are actually useful in entire AAA games, not in little shaders or little tiny ass bullshit.
Yeah, well,
it is what it is. You could do research on it. There's a reason that we say the things we say.
You know what? At the end of the day, it seems like console gamers when they get to talking about this, this generation's been crazy as hell to me. I mean, I'm getting a little old for this shit here. We always argue about who had the better games, or fucking who fucking sold them. But now we out here counting frames and this, that, and it. But look, like I said, the narrative is forever changing. Now Sony doesn't have the better hardware, and from what I'm reading, like this was told to me, like I said a while ago, and even what what I mean, with people talking about, because I got a lot of shit saying that it's going to run everything in 4K 60. Everything that we've had for this generation, the Scorpio can consume that. This is what I was told, can handle it at 4K 60. Now, maybe 2 years from now, you may have Unreal Engine 5 comes out. Things become more demanding. Then you might get the whole upscale or whatever. What do they call it? Sparse rendering. I forgot what they called this. It's what Microsoft was calling theirs. Sparse forecast and shit like that. And then that. But for what we've been playing, for the last 3 years or so, they won't have a problem achieving that. And another thing that I guess kind of got skipped over when they first started talking about this. Phil said we were making two consoles at the time. They was gonna bring, they were making the Xbox One S and the projects at the same time, and they could have brought it out last year. But like I said, they didn't want. I guess was not. How some games run better on the standard PS4 than it does on the what's on my frame rate wise. Then on the Pro. They didn't want to do that. They wanted a true leap in performance and visuals. You know what I mean? So, like I said, how long do you expect the Scorpio to stay on the market before Microsoft comes up with something new?
Well, Cerny did confirm the Pro CPU to be exactly the same, just clocked higher, right? That's something different that they didn't do that the Scorpio is doing. A complete rebuild and customization with a lot of the shit they're doing, faster draw speeds, faster queuing, obviously higher frequency, less latency, just to name a few things they talked about, plus a higher clock speed. And like I said, that makes it more efficient overall. And I don't know, honestly, man, I know you're just listening to a source that told you whatever 4K 60, but I've already told you, I don't think that's the case. I think a lot of games can do 4K 30 high or ultra, no problem, right? But 4K 60 is crazy as fuck to me. Yeah, you'll have games at 4K 60, but don't expect that kind of shit all the time. Maybe at a lower resolution 60, fine. And that's more than good enough. It's going to blow your fucking mind. Either way, right? You're finally getting a PC experience when it comes to games and visuals on a console, in my opinion, from what I'm hearing. So this is going to be awesome no matter how you try to cut it. Scorpio has enough juice and enough power to be on the market. I would say, man, before they're running games at 720p, 30 frames, like even at high settings or medium settings with Scorpio, it would be another 7-8 years or more, no problem. Like, no problem at all. I would say 10 years. This thing could serve as a base model when they eventually phase the OGX one out, like another 5 or so years, right? So, I don't know, man. It's crazy. That's what I've been telling people for like over a year. This is real power. And people are finally understanding, oh, shit, like this is real power. Yes, like it's plenty of future-proof, and it's going to be around for a while.
I got to disagree with you, dealer, because from that article there, they say we want you to be able to capture all of your 4K 60 frames per second gameplay. Now, I don't know why they would say that
if they have one 4K 60 game, they can say that technically.
Also, too, they said that they could have brought that system out last year, but they wanted to improve graphic fidelity and frame rates. So I think Microsoft is really going to concentrate on frame rates. I don't think we're going to see some of the games that'll be at 30 frames per second. I think we're going to see a lot more 60 frames per second. Not every game, of course, not. But I think we're going to see a lot more 60 frames per second. And like I said, with FreeSync, we're going to see a lot of 40, 45 frames per second games as well.
Well, I wouldn't disagree with that entirely because 60 frames has only become more and more common, right? I mean, last generation, it was very odd that you got a 60 frames game on the AAA side. This generation is more common than ever. Developers building their engines around the draw call capability to get 60 first and then scale everything up. That's very smart, like Resident Evil 7, for instance, right? And I'm just saying that Phil did reference PS4 Pro pretty much directly when he's saying dropping frames and lower frame rates. That's what he's talking about. He doesn't want these games to drop frames where potentially the X1 version did. And with those optimizations, that's done. But I do think we'll get 60 frames options because they're getting that on the Pro with some games, right? They can actually handle it. So, of course, it'll be more common here. No way everything's going to be able to be 4K 60 and all this shit, though. I mean, we need to smack the shit out of the air.
No, what I'm saying, but like, I guess if an engine is made for 30, then it is what it is. Like some games.
See, on the PC side, there are very few engines, in my opinion, that are truly made for 30. Like Forza Horizon 3, you need a monster CPU to get that thing at 60, no matter what resolution you're at. There are also some Ubisoft stuff, like the Dumia engine, I do believe it's called, that's just super horrible for your CPU. And, that game just doesn't want to run at 60. Even though I get it run at 60, there are some CPUs that no matter if you're at 720p, you'll be at the same frame rate because it's just you got to have a really good CPU to really destroy frame rates on that game. I'm just saying that with enough power, you can brute force pretty much any engine up to 60. So no game is really built for 30. I would say on the PC side, you can brute force almost anything with enough power. It's just the fact that some games are harder to get up to 60 than others. Like even Dark Souls just got a patch on Pro, and that's anywhere from 40 to 55 frames. Watch a Digital Foundry video. Never really hits 60, and when it does, I don't even know if it actually does because the CPU is not fast enough to get those draw calls out there fast enough to hit 60, and that's why it hovers, right? So stuff like that, I think you could easily do 60 on Scorpio, because of those optimizations and stuff. But otherwise, you're going to get more games with probably 60 frames modes. That's what I want, right? No matter what resolution it is, I'll play it at 60 frames.
Well, I mean, I understand, but it's still a console.
DX12 will help, though. I want to definitely get that out there.
This console, though, is blurring the fucking lines between a console and a PC, though. I gotta say that. It's got a lot of PC-like features. Like, I see some PC guys going crazy for this system, saying, holy shit! And it's a day one buy for them.
Yep.
I mean, I'm saying $500, but let me ask you guys a question. We wrap this shit up. What's most impressive to you about Scorpio? What I mean? Like, what's really like just caught your eyes? From you guys being a tech guy, and also you guys being just straight up gamers. What, made you say, "Oh, that was the old shit moment" for you?
That it's gonna be doing 4K 60 frames per second, ultra PC settings. That it can do that. That it can record gameplay at 4K 60 frames per second with HDR. That was pretty impressive to me, man. To be honest with you, the fact that they overclocked that. The clocks that GPU is at, and that it's actually more powerful than the RX 480. That in fact there's no fucking card like it. I don't know. That kind of blew my mind.
So what's RX 480? What's
that's the card I have. And when that card came out, it's worth noting that the benchmarks were not great on that card. They've since released drivers, and that thing is like 15 to 20% faster overall now, or some shit.
Okay, so
you can actually watch modern videos putting that up against the 1070, where it beats the 1070 in most DX11 games, and it's a complete sweep in DX12. The card has come a long way, and this thing, that's the thing I'm most surprised about, is that this thing is actually faster than the card I just upgraded my PC to, which is 5.9 teraflops overclocked to 1288. It's a factory overclock card. And this thing it's not just the difference between 5.93 and 6 teraflops faster. This thing, from what I saw on Apex alone, my card can't get those results. As you know, they compared it to 1070, 1060, 1080, doing ultra settings 4K on Apex. That was confirmed to be the PC version. At running at ultra settings 4xAA on 4K at lock 60. My card, I would run 2xAA maybe with the same settings, and maybe I might go down 56 frames in a crash or something. They were in the rain, which is more intensive than any crash, and they also were at 4xAA, which is another several frames, and then they didn't drop a single frame.
Yeah.
So like I said, only the 1070, which this is in their article on their website, was similar performance, and even that card dropped a little bit. Not saying it's as powerful as a 1070. I'm just saying there is some magic at work here with this thing, and that was apparently on an unoptimized game, because remember, they're not releasing that game. That's just a demo. They already put out Forza 6. They're working on Forza 7. So they did confirm it was unoptimized, running extremely fast. Bottom line, surprised that you're getting so much performance, even more than we've been saying. And people say we were overhyping this thing and getting people's hopes up. Now you understand, right? And it's all about perspective. So I will say that the performance is the best thing, and you're actually getting it, and you'll get it for around $500. I say $450. Who knows? Maybe if they're being aggressive, they go down 50. If they're trying to make some money, they go up 50. But either way, it's worth every single fucking penny.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we are we sticking at 500?
Nah, I say realistically 450. I'm hoping that Microsoft is fucking smart here, listens to us fucking gamers out here, and goes aggressive at $399, because $399, every motherfucker is gonna grab this fucking system. I'm telling you.
But only reason I kind of say no to $399 because the Xbox One S is still $300.
Yeah,
It'll
that's
be
gonna
$250
that's
this year.
that's gonna drop in price just like the PS4 Pro. And remember from the article, they said the reason why they did the customization was to make this console affordable, that it would appeal to the gamer. And if we know the magic price point is $399, they're not fucking idiots. They must know that price point too.
Well, they knew that shit back in 2013 too, and they still fucked it up with the Kinect. So I don't
Well,
know. I'm not going to rule anything out. It may
different.
seem like common sense to us. You know, it is possible they take a loss. To PS3, they took a $300 loss almost on every single one. That thing almost cost $1,000 to make because of that Blu-ray drive, and that was well documented. It's one of the reasons they lost $19 billion last generation. Microsoft could take $50 on a hit on this thing if they wanted. I don't think they're going to make it for $400 at all. I think they'll probably make it for around $480, like Colt Eastwood kind of made a video on. I think that was highly plausible. So yeah, if they sold it at $5, they would make money on this. They're making money on the S right now. They confirmed that. They made money on the base Xbox when they've not lost any money on these consoles. So who knows? Maybe they decide, fuck it, we need to do this. It would be smart. These things would sell like crack. I'm telling you. If
oh my god,
if it hit at $399. Even if the Pro was at $350, people wouldn't care because Digital Foundry are going to tell everyone every single time that any game's made that a developer even attempts to apply themselves on, that the Scorpio version is running better. And, you know, there's no getting around that. It's just too big of a gap. People say it's close. It's not. And anyone knows anything about PC GPUs knows that it's not. It's pretty much the difference between a 1060 and a 1070 in just raw compute alone. Those are numbers you cannot change. And I know that's on the NVIDIA side, blah, blah, blah. I'm just using that as an example. It works the same on the AMD side with the difference between T-flops. So it is a difference.
And the bandwidth too. Like, just to put in perspective, this Scorpio has the same bandwidth as a GTX 1080.
Yeah.
Damn.
That's memory bandwidth. Yeah, it's not going to be as quick as 1080, but it's going to be very capable. So it doesn't matter. That's the thing. People keep saying, "Well, I got this and this on a PC," and it's like, cool. I'm glad you enjoy it. Buy their games on PC and play where you want. But this is for console people. If you aren't a console guy, don't worry about it.
But it's comparable. Like Digital Foundry, they said they tried to replicate it on a PC, and only a 1070 could keep up with it, like to match it. Like, what more do you want from a console?
Well, even that card dropped, but there's more to the story than that, and I think it's too early to say definitively that a $500 console is going to give you what a $1,000 rig would give you just yet, right? And I'm just realistic. I've always been. So I'm just saying, hold your horses a little bit. Let's see what other games are doing. I think it's going to perform great, and it's going to be amazing no matter what it does because it'll leap in power. It's just one of those things where don't worry about comparing it to a PC because you're in the console. Just the same way as the PC guys in the PC. It's the same thing. So
you know, that's
I
not
will
what
say
happened.
this, though. If it does do that, it will be amazing. It'll bring us back to the days of Xbox 360, because the Xbox 360, when it came out, it was spanking a lot of PCs, man.
yeah, but no one gave a shit because they just liked the console and they didn't even think about PC. You know,
But I think with the immersion now of Digital Foundry and everything's been, 1080p makes you a better gamer. That now console gamers are now more into frames per second. That's been, of course, there's been an argument going around here
exactly
for the last few years. I don't think we ever go back to console gamers enjoy your games, because now, like I've always thought it was stupid. Why do PC gamers feel the need to compete with a console? It's a console. Nobody cares about your fucking personal computer. I don't care about your screensaver, how many goddamn gigs of RAM you're having, what tabs you have, Pornhub, or
it's weird because it's like they don't know that. Oh, duh, right? Like, yo, you can put however much money you want into this thing. Good job. Like, you better get more performance, right? So it is what it is. It's like one of those things where who cares if you like PC? Don't worry about.
Speaking of PC gaming, I tried my hand at it again yesterday. I was playing fucking Mortal Kombat. I was doing the shit on, and the fucking the games on PC open up like an app, and this shit just crashed. Got a blue screen. Like, what the? I want to go back to my motherfucking Xbox. I ain't doing this shit, man. I'm gonna go back to my.
I did say probably a month ago is the most recent time I said it. I think frame rate will be one of the biggest dividers between these two if they do this correctly and say, all right, try to get your games up to 60 if you can. More people give a shit about that than if a game gets to 4K any day.
The 60. Well, I care more about. I want better graphics. That's all. I don't.
Well,
care.
you ain't gonna notice the difference between 1440 and 4K. I'm telling
No,
you. Like,
I don't
like
care.
I'm
I just
not,
want
I'm
better
not on
graphics.
average. Like, if you're sitting there switching back and forth, of course, but you wouldn't know if they didn't tell you, most likely, and that's just the truth. So if you can get even 1080 60, you're gonna notice your display experience is so much better, and plus you're gonna get those graphics. You know.
Hey, listen, give me graphics for anything. Give me graphics or give me death or your grandmother's phone number, either or. That's why you know what I mean. And I don't, you know, man. I've always said I won't say like I'm a hypocrite, but I'm gonna pop my shit because I heard it for 3.5 years. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell's going
They
on.
can give you both. That's kind of the best part of this. They can give you an option.
Yeah, so like it is what it is. But we can get ahead and wrap it up. Thank you guys for swinging by on this Easter Sunday. I'm about to go out there and pray for my man that died on the stick. Say a prayer for my sorry. Listen, look at the fuck out. Thank you guys for rocking out with us. It's like what was it, Beast Fire or whatever the hell. It's Easter Sunday, whatever.
It's Easter Fire.
Easter Fire. There you go. Easter Fire with Beast Fire. How you like that? Easter Fire with Beast Fire. You know what I mean? Emmanuel the Baptist.
And he will link that article down below for you guys. We always advise you guys read everything we talk about for your own benefit. So he'll link that down below.
You guys are pulling shit out your ass again. They didn't see that. I'm leaving the link right here.
You know, it's a really good fucking read. It's a really good read, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, listen, a shameless plug by myself. If you want to come play the game with me, I done had my coffee, my Adderall, and my cough syrup. I'm ready to fucking go. I'll leave a link down below. Come out. If you listen, if you don't like what I just said about the man on the stick, come beat the dog shit out me, man. Here's your chance. Do me like the Passion of Christ. I'm listen. Come get this work. Come hop on the live show and talk shit, man. Well, we out here. I'm leaving all the links down below. Of course, you know, Dealer, my man. It's the hottest thing in the Xbox community. It's my man, Dealer, and we got D the Tech guy. You know what I mean? And I heard Hardy.
Hit the like button, people. Hit the like button. Come on.
Yeah, and listen, they said they wanted to send me a video. I don't watch Hardy shit though. Said he bought another stolen TV out the box, but it was broke. Somebody's TV better than mine. You got I don't know what the fuck's up with that guy. You got a KS85 9800. You buy a 2016 TV. Talking about your TV, 2017, bro. Talking about your TV.
That's just a rebrand anyway. So
I don't know what the fuck's up with that guy. And that guy James, I think he has me on his mantle with my gadgets.
I never got why people compare their personal worth or why they might be better than you because they have something.
You know what? I'm gonna say this before we go. I have toned down a lot. I used to be Ray Black Brass and Ray. You know, I used to do my shit. I have all the money. Like I don't even do that shit anymore. I just sit and do my goddamn videos in my own space, minding my own business. He puts up a video so much TV's better than mine, but his TV's fucking broke. Like, man, stop buying fucking TVs out of Taco Bell's parking lot. You wouldn't have that problem. But we out here. We catch you guys later on, man. Yeah, and it is what it is. I'm about to go fucking paint some eggs with my daughter. Yeah. Happy Jesus Day.